I'm going to paint a watercolor of this robin. So I have my colors all set up over here. I'll start by mixing Hansa Yellow Medium with Phthalo Blue. This will make a very vivid green. I want to make it more of a yellow green. So I'm just going to start laying this down. And I want this to be as vivid as possible. So I'm going to lay it down pretty thick. I wanted to keep that top edge wet. So I'm just spreading some of this around. Painting around the beak, the top of the head. You don't want to leave white gaps because it looks like it's unfinished. So this is a Neptune brush from Princeton. And it holds a lot of water. I kind of wish it had a finer point, but it's really good for like big washes like this. So I just want to scrub this in quick. I don't want to like waste too much time. Load it up with some more yellow. I gotta do a better job of painting this side. It's kind of tough because I'm right-handed and this is the left side of the bird. If I wasn't filming this, I would just rotate the pad around. I don't want to overwork it, so I'll just let this dry for now. The next step is I'm going to paint the darker sections of the grass. So I have all these lines in here and I'll just fill these in. I want to mix up a darker green, but I think I might also use a little bit of cerulean to make it more blue. Some phthalo and then more of this Hansa Yellow. So I just test it off on the side to see if it's something I want to use. Maybe a little bit more cerulean blue. It's not too bad. I'm thinking I might mix up an additional green that I could use to vary the color. So I'll use mostly phthalo blue. It's good to think about how you can add variety to your washes. I've got both these colors mixed up and then I can also add colors as I'm painting. I created a value study before I started this, and these sections right here I'll leave mostly as the color it is right now. This top part I'll paint right over all that because there's going to be a second shadow color that I'll apply later. I'll just start filling this in. Once I have an area wet, I can drop more pigment in there. Cerulean blue is granulating, so it should create a pattern as it dries. It gives it more interest. So I'm just keeping this top edge wet. I don't want to create a hard edge. And then I can dip into like some cerulean blue and just add it to certain areas. This is ultramarine blue and I'll add some of that in there. Another thing I can do is add some water and then soften the edges. I switch back to my larger brush so I can get this top part in quicker. Like I said, there's another color that'll go over the top of that. So once in a while I pick up a little bit of ultramarine blue so I can make it darker in some sections. Like right here, put a little bit more ultramarine in there, just so it's not all the same color, and I could even do that down here. You pretty much want to do it when it's still wet so that the pigment will spread around. So I'm trying to preserve some of these negative shapes. You can get quite a bit of like detail with a brush that's this big. So here's another shape I want to paint around. And I can get in some of those tight areas with a brush that's fairly large. I'm thinking maybe a little bit of like phthalo blue in here just to give it a punch of color right next to the bird. Well, I guess I can move it. That's what I'm talking about. It's easier to get in there if you have it angled the right way. Take some more ultramarine blue, add a little bit more water, and then see if I can get some of these areas to get darker and get some pattern going in here. Then I'll just charge some of these areas with a darker blue. It's good to have random color variations within your washes. I'll do the same thing towards the top. That's what I like about this Arches Rough is that you can really put a thick wash down in here and it can take it. It doesn't really buckle that much, and it can hold a lot of pigment so you can get darker colors. I'll add some more cerulean blue, and I'll put some on the side over here. Maybe a little bit more phthalo along the top here. Another technique is you can add some clear water to disrupt some of these washes. So that's entirely dry. Then I'll mix up some purple with quinacridone magenta and ultramarine blue. We want this really dark. This is going to be the darkest part of the painting. I'm thinking a dash of warm color in the grass would help in some areas. Not much. I'm adding some of the darker colors down here just to create some depth. It's time to paint the bird, and I changed my water so that it's not so green. I'll mix up like a warm gray by using burnt sienna and some ultramarine blue. I'll mix up a couple different varieties so that I got colors to work with. And I think I want the section to be a little bit warmer, so there's a little bit of magenta, some burnt sienna. So the plan is put in a really light wash, pretty much just to get this area wet so that I can go back in and charge it with other colors. When I keep the area, there's like a stripe around his eye that's whitish. I want to get rid of all these white sections around the bird. I'll mix up some more of that color, but make it darker. You know, I'll probably switch to a different brush here. So his head is pretty dark, but I don't want to go too dark yet. I just want to put in some darker sections and let it spread into the rest of the area. So his wing, it's pretty dark on the side here. And his wing gets a little bit warmer in color over here, so it has the magenta in it. There's a section in his mid-back where, so I think I'll let that dry. One other thing I want to get in there real quick, there's a little bit of the orange color from his belly that shows up on the side. So I'm mixing up some hints of yellow with pyrrole red to get like a orangey color. I'll put just like a small indication of it here. There's some on this side. I'll mix in more yellow to get like a beak color. So here's the color of his beak. I can come back in and add a shadow area to that. I dry that off, and this is the burnt sienna ultramarine blue mixture. So his head is quite a bit darker, especially in this section right here and by his wing. There's like a rounded edge to the top of his wing right here, and it connects like that. It's nice having, I have 2 buckets of water, so I can keep one dirty and one clean. So I get in with some clean water, just so I can soften that edge. So here's some of that darker color. It does get pretty dark around his eye, but like I said, there's like a stripe there. I want to preserve that. Got some clean water. I'll soften that edge. Now if I dry off my brush, I can lift some of that paint on the edge to make it lighter. They call it a thirsty brush. There's no water in it. The edge of his wing is pretty dark too. I think it gets a little bit more bluish along the edge. Lift that area there that's bleeding into the background. There's like an indication of like a feather pattern right here. This is burnt sienna, ultramarine blue, and a little bit of quinacridone magenta. I'll put some of that in there, and then on the edge I can add some of the darker color. Then go into his tail feathers. This is like the edge of one feather. I want to keep some of that orange on the side here, so I just mix some more of that up. There's a very tiny like red spot. I'll let that dry, and then I can add the colors that are around that. So I want to add some shadow areas to the beak. The section around his eye is pretty dark. So this is his eye right here. It's a little bit of a white highlight at the top. He needs a shadow underneath him to connect him to the ground. I think he needs more of a warm color on his back. The stripe around his eye is a little too bright, so I'm just adding a very thin wash on there. If you enjoyed this video, check out my other watercolor painting demos. I also paint in acrylics and oils.